Why, hello. This is Let's Play DecapAttack? Yeah, today it's look back to the prequel to the sequel, that is Magical Hat Flying Turbo Adventure. An earlier version, as you can see. We got a Pangea continent instead of a exploding skeleton. And Master Roshi and the dog from Paranoia Agent instead of Igor and Dr. Frankenstein. Good to see one familiar face, though. Max Decap is unchanged between versions. He actually looks a little more sinister here. It's one of the few things that looks scarier in this version than in DecapAttack. That's quite enough illegible Japanese writing. Here's our characters riding a mech. We're not going to see that mech in this game, unfortunately. So let's just get into the world. Right away, things are much less spooky. Kind of unfortunate. We can see some analogous characters, and have already died in one hit. The biggest difference between this and DecapAttack is that, yeah, Magical Hat does not survive more than a single blow. Unless he's got this guy. His little projectile ally, his projectili, who of course is not a skull. In this game he is a weird egg guy with legs. I don't know what he is. Honestly, I have no familiarity with the source material, that is the Magical Hat anime. But I assume this has some relevance to that somehow. But I'll never know. And already we have enemies inside of the totems. An obnoxious trick that DecapAttack doesn't pull until much later in the game. And as you can see, we survive that hit if we have our ally, but we lose our ally. Rather unfortunate, and there are very few pickups for that guy. Here, instead of red-eyed skulls, we have flat-top trees that we can stand upon. Make a handy platform as we explore this back corner here. Kill that bandit badger. Ah, we do already have our ally back. I believe there's only one more recovery point for him later in the stage. Could be mistaken, though. I believe I previously stated that there were enemies that carried over from this game into DecapAttack, hence their out-of-placeness in DecapAttack. I appear to have been wrong. I recall the way they looked in DecapAttack being much more similar to the way they looked here. And I figured out how to use these poles. You gotta get above them and get it so you land, you're falling directly downwards and you're not touching any direction while doing so. We could turn every single one of those balls white and we'd get a life every time we did it. That's why this game isn't much harder despite the one-hit kills. It just buries you in extra lives. That, and hopefully I don't have to show it off, but we have checkpoints in this game. DecapAttack does not have checkpoints. And doesn't really need them, but this game desperately does. Some of them are surprisingly cruel. In particular, this one. What we gotta do is climb up on this tree, jump over here, and break as few of those blocks as possible, because if we have to come back here, the checkpoint is down at the bottom there. And we have to climb over this wall, and the more of these blocks we break, the harder it is to make that jump in the future. So we got a coin. I'm actually going to go back. And I'm going to lose the ally along the way. Might be showing off that checkpoint after all. But I'm going back, because there's a guy I want to see. He's around here somewhere. He's not lava, that's for sure. Now let's see what's in those totems. Gotta be real careful. And I I believe this is the respawn point right here. Nothing special in those totems. Rather the waste of time, unfortunately. This first stage is completely different from its equivalent in DecapAttack, which is uncommon. Most of the stages in Magical Hat are almost identical to a stage in DecapAttack. Wisely, they completely trashed this stage. It's not a very good stage. It makes a very, very poor first impression on the game. As you can see by the way I'm struggling with it. So, sneak around here. Not get killed by that guy this time. Nothing of interest over here. Perhaps up. Back where we came from. I believe what I was looking for might be a little later on. Although I recall it being in this first stage. I suppose we shall see. We gotta get a running start here. Another obnoxious thing is that it really likes to make you get running starts. So, just barely make it if we stand all the way as far as over as we can. Get as much of a running start as possible and jump at the last possible moment. Slightly after the last possible moment. Just as well. Get on with it, young man. For being an anime that this is based on, it doesn't have very much of a Japanese influence to it. Visually, at least. Our main character is wearing a turban of sorts, which I have never known to be a Japanese thing. Then again, I'm more than a little bit ignorant on the subject. So, that was a poor choice. Tragic. A lot of tricks in this game as well, particularly in this scrapped first level. Once we get through here, it's going to get a lot easier. I don't know why they chose to put such a difficult and really unpleasant level right at the beginning of the game. And as I said, the more blocks we break, the harder this jump gets. Just barely made it. Okay, now if we flutter over here, get to these crackle blocks, we can see these guys. They're adorable. I like them a lot, but they are the most difficult enemy in the game, and I'm very glad they did not return in DecapAttack. There's no equivalent to them in that game. We get a bonus game at the end of every single level. This one's a slot machine. There's only two. This slot machine, which I don't know how it works. I just press all the buttons and always lose. Serves me right. Each path is controlled by a different button, though, and I can never figure out which one controls which, so I just press them all. And we're going to recognize the other bonus stage when we get to it. I believe it switches back and forth. This stage is also quite similar to the second stage of DecapAttack. That guy's a real problem. He gets me a lot. How do I get back up there? Oh, I know. Safely dodge that cute anime face guy. And there's a cloud here. Blends in much more easily than it does in DecapAttack. A lot of very small design changes in DecapAttack that make it just way, way better overall. Very impressive how such small changes over a long enough period make such a huge difference. It certainly is the best game of the four. Come up here for another bonus item. Coin. There are items in this game, usable items as in DecapAttack. They pretty much have the exact same effects as in DecapAttack. Haven't quite tested all of them, but they seem to be all one-to-one analogs there. So we gotta climb up this, as we did in DecapAttack. Happy little marching guy up in the corner there, guarding a couple of coins. And we're to our goal. It is a much easier stage, and does have a checkpoint, which is pretty unnecessary. So, we're here, and if we put multiple guys in the same spot, they don't stack up. They get a sign of multiples, indicating how many are there. It's a better way to do it, and there's also items strewn across the path as we go along. It's almost impossible not to get some prizes while you're going through this one. Makes it a lot better than the one in its sequel. This is actually one of the few things I wish they hadn't changed quite so much. For example, we're gonna get 5 lives for both of the guys we sent in there. That's not even possible in DecapAttack. As I said, they utterly bury you in lives. It's embarrassing. They start to dry up later on as the game gets much harder, but for one, we're not gonna go that far. And for another thing, lives are really plentiful enough for it not to be a problem. I have beaten this game, and there's the guy I like. That bat there. If they brought anything back in DecapAttack, I wish it had been this. Ah, look at him go. But enough of him. He's in a place that serves no threat whatsoever. He appears later in much greater quantities. So as I was saying, I have beaten this game, but I made very heavy use of save states. Not that it's terribly necessary, as I've stated, but I didn't want to go through all the frustration of going back to checkpoints over and over and over again. This game is a lot more frustrating than DecapAttack, despite not being much more difficult, if at all. I actually don't have the save states configured correctly at the moment. I had no intention of using them anyway, but I do not even have the option. That bird managed to stomp himself underneath me. You can actually use save states in the Xbox 360 version of DecapAttack, but it's very clunky. You have to navigate a couple of menus. Now, there's actually load times between saving and loading. It's just another example of the superiority of PC games over console games. And I say that as a lifelong console gamer. Still am. Always will be. Still can't quite tell which clouds are which. I'm sure you can at home, but slightly distracted looking at the main character. Making sure he's not getting hit by any enemies. Look at how terrible the backgrounds look compared to DecapAttack. The backgrounds in that game are incredible. This one is quite unimpressive. So anyway, we know this is the boss coming up here. It's got a name, I'm sure it's a hilarious pun, but I can't read Japanese, so I'll never know. The bosses all have unique designs that are really awesome. He won't pin us up to the wall, which is awful nice of him. He's only got the one attack, spitting rocks. Oh, I didn't want to have to show that off. But if you've thrown your ally and you get hit while he's gone, you do die despite having your ally. That's unfortunate. And I don't believe we have any more unused allies lying around in these totems. So, items it is. Up, once we get there. As you can see, this is quite a bit more frustrating a game than DecapAttack. It is fun though, it's a very good game. Worth playing, but no more so than its sequel, that's for sure. Just gotta carefully navigate, not get killed again, like I almost did there. Not jump too high. And we can just fly right over there. We'll get stopped by an invisible wall. I seem to not be able to... There we go. I was in a cutscene. I thought for a second I couldn't use my items on bosses. So, I don't have the boss killer item. That's this one right here, the yellow one. What's this do? What the... Okay, I have sorely underestimated this game. Wow. This is the best game I've ever played. I just turned into a gorilla mech and blew the hell out of a dragon. Whoa. So... let's see what this other pill does. Why have I never used these pills? Holy crap. Oh, maybe they're only for bosses. Yeah, I can't use them now. Wow. This is a fascinating turn of events. I might have to show off the next boss in this video now. By the way, the secret item is up here. It's a fancy shell horn. And it's much harder to miss than it is in the sequel, so that's nice. And there's our goal. And I actually think I'm going to skip ahead, show off the next boss so that we can see what that other pill does. Wow, I'm looking forward to this. I'll see you for that in just a moment, I hope. Okay, coming up on the boss, and I knew I'd summon that guy, but alas, it doesn't matter. We can once again do the trick where we escape without fighting the boss. Who needs it? Looking forward to this boss. He is a kangaroo. He sends his young after us. Let's see just how we are going to deal with that. Oh boy. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, this is tragic. All that build-up and work. Although, we get to see this guy again. It was awesome. Oh, I'm as disappointed as you are, guys. Let's see if we can vanquish this guy. Nope. Well, that's a shame. Huge anticlimax. Oh well. As you can see, I totally hit the jackpot on lives. I sent 4 guys down a pathway that led to 5 lives each. And then I died a whole ton. But yeah, that was pretty fun. I have a feeling that the transformations might even be a reference to the previous game in this series called Psycho Fox. In which case, that'd be an interesting thing to see. We might take a look at that game. In addition to this one and the one previous to Psycho Fox, the whole quadrilogy. But that remains to be seen. Next time we will definitely be back to DecapAttack. And we will lament the loss of the gorilla mech. See you next time for Armington.